Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Justin Davis. Today I have another honest review for you. Today we're going to check out the Spc Maker. It's called the K1, sort of a little miniature 95mm HD whoop drone, micro brushless, whatever you want to call it. Look how much smaller it is next to the quad we reviewed yesterday on the channel. Man, quite a big difference between a 5-inch race quad and something with 2mm props. And I actually underpropped this one a little bit. I went with some 1940s. They are Rotor X props. You can find those hopefully at the link below if I remember to put it there for you guys. And that's what I'm going to suggest. I'm going to show you the stock props that came along with it. Those are the Emax Tiny Avon tri props that just bring a little more vibration into my current setup. So we're also going to talk about some things you can do to make this little tiny HD micro quad a little bit better for you, and really kind of get the best video possible out of this tiny frame. Now, it's extremely hard to put 1105 motors on something under 100mm and not get vibration. So the challenge has been made here, and there's a lot of different whoops out there right now, what we would call cinema whoops in the genre of the FPV community right now. So this is one of them, and I'm gonna show you my recommendations for setting this one up properly. Choosing the right prop is everything, guys. If you have a prop on there that is kind of a dog, it is pushing a lot of unnecessary air, and what happens is it creates more vibration straight to the center of the frame, which affects the flight controller and initially gets back to your recorded video. So, and that occurs on screen as jello. If you guys don't know what jello is the horizontal vibrations that look kind of like you're in the ocean, and we in the drone community call that jello. So we're trying to get the least jello possible in this particular setup because, hey, it's supposed to be a cinema whoop, right? And we want to get some cool shots. Now, you know, some people would say, oh, we'll just buy a DJI Mavic or something like that, but that's a whole different ballpark, and this is way cheaper and more portable. Most people don't even realize that you're flying this little thing around. It is quite small and fairly quiet if you're just cruising at mid-throttle or a little over mid-throttle. But I do have it set up to be fairly mild, and that's what this one's all about. We're not going to push the limits of the boundaries of the flight characteristics of it. We're just going to take this out and simply fly it. And I want to show you guys some of the 1080p 60 frame per second onboard footage that they have going on with that Runcam 2 split mini on here. It's a single stack split mini with an SD card on the side that you can put in there, use a class 10 or better, and you can record your videos down to that smart card, put them in your computer and upload them, edit them, put music to them, whatever you'd like to do. We're also going to share some video of 2S, what it looks like on 2S 450. We're going to share some video of a 3S 850, and we're also going to try to attempt to fly a 4S 850, which this one might be getting a little bit big for this guy. It's bigger than the quad, so 4S 850 might be a little bit much. You probably want a battery down to something like a 650 at the most, but you know, these 1105 motors are going to eat up a lot of battery, and in my opinion, they probably could have went with like a 1104 and probably had a smoother HD cinema feel and less vibration on the frame. You really don't need all that power, but we're going to play with it anyway because that's the way that Spc Maker set it up. And just to give you a little like background information on Spc Maker, man, I have been flying Spc Maker quads since they first came around and started making frames. I used to build up their brushed little micro quads before we got into brushless micros, and they were always kind of finicky to set up, and sometimes the specs looked amazing on paper. You look at this on the website and you think, oh my god, take my money right now, take my money, I'm going to buy this. This is absolutely awesome. This is the best looking specs on any quad I've ever seen. And then when you get it, it's a total pile of crap and you can't figure out what's wrong with it. There might be 10 different things wrong with it, and some of that is that some of these companies will throw together some parts, but then again, they won't field test it, or if they did field test it, someone's not telling the whole truth at the factory and like, okay, let's make 5,000 of these things, and then they'll make a next version 2 weeks later. So yeah, that can be bad for the consumer, because if you get the version 1 of something and it's really a dog, that's not very beneficial to you, and they're not going to give you your money back on it either. So it's really good to watch the reviews on YouTube, and definitely find, if not my channel, someone else that's honest about this stuff with you, because I don't want you guys to buy something that's complete dog. If it is a dog, I'm going to tell you how to make it fly great, and make it not be a dog. So this one, it did need some changes, and we'll discuss that further in the video. But first, let's go out. As always, let's do a little bit of line of sight flying with the K1 V3 that I have here, and we'll come back in the studio after we do some FPV as well. But if you'd like to become a Patreon on the channel, if you really like these honest reviews and my honest opinion with you about these quadcopters, coming up on like 750 videos. So I got to pat myself on the back a little bit. That's a lot of dedication, and almost 5 years into the Camps channel now. So the Patreon channel is really cool. You can download the app to your phone, and then you can access me directly. We can talk about your quad issues, or we can discuss the hobby. Anything you'd like to say, I can respond back to you in private messages. We also have a community post board on the Patreon app where you can post your questions and other people can chime in, and we can talk about your issues together in the hobby. If you're brand new to the hobby, you can introduce yourself to the Drone Camps community. It's actually really cool. We also have the Discord app, and the Discord app is great because you can download that as well. And I actually do some live chats on there as well. So I'll come on there and I can talk to you person to person, like we're having a huge giant teleconference. It's really cool. So $1 or more will get you included into the Patreon supporter community. It's really cool. So you can check out that link below. It's right under the link that says "Be My Friend." Very, very cool stuff there. And that will automatically also get you entered into the monthly drawings here on the channel for the Tiny Hawk and for that awesome Yixin trash can coming out the first week of February. It's coming fast, man. We're already through, like halfway through January. It's crazy. But without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and do some flying again today. And let's check out this K1 from Spc Maker. Little line sight, some FPV, and then we'll come back and I'll give you a little closer look at this guy. Pretty cool looking little quad, isn't it? Here we go. All right, guys, here we are at the field with little K1. Let's go ahead and get it up in the air. Let me show you how it flies line of sight. After that, we'll do a little bit of FPV with this little guy and check out the footage. We'll see which battery works the best, 2, 3, or 4S battery on this particular setup to get the best video. Here we go. Sounding pretty good with those props on there. A lot better than the Avon props I had on there originally. Sounding pretty smooth. Now, if you go on a higher battery, like 3 to 4S, I think you really start to run into vibration issues with this quad. So I think the sweet spot for smooth video and still a little bit of maneuverability is going to be the 2S setup. I honestly believe that the 2S setup is going to give us the best video today without jello and vibration. I think the higher RPM we get, the more introduction to vibration we're sending to the camera. So yeah, I think that's going to be the big test today for the K1. Again, I think the motors HOs are just a little bit large for this particular frame. I would normally choose like a 1104, you know, 1105 for like something running under 100 millimeters. It's getting pretty powerful, and if you're really trying to record nice, smooth run cam split style footage, you're gonna need a really smooth, vibration-free frame because it really is susceptible to vibration. So it's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and set it on the ground before I break those awesome props, and we'll get it in the air and show you some FPV footage on all the different batteries, 2, 3, and 4S. Here we go. All right, let me go ahead and get this quad off the ground. Let me walk you through the different batteries. We're going to start out with that 2S battery, and you can see that down at the bottom left hand of the screen. I'm going to put that little numeric in there every time I show the new battery. We're going to do a 3 and 4S next, but checking out the 2S, first, my first impression is that it is looking pretty good. I don't see a lot of jitter and a lot of vibe. This is almost, if you're going to try to get smooth stuff with this quad, this is where you want to be, with probably like a 2S 850 at maximum weight. You're not going to get a lot of punch with it, but you are going to get some super smooth video. There is a little bit of prop wash that I saw right there with a direction change, But overall, I think the video looks pretty decent, and now I'm going again with another 2S battery. And I noticed that the Split Mini is a little bit dark close to the ground, but it has to get up in the air, really see the full range of light out there. So all the colors look actually pretty good for an overcast day. I think all the greens are pretty decently green, and there's some color variation down there as well. I can pretty much see where I'm going with the video transmitter on top. The dipole is not actually bad coming back to my goggles, and right here I don't have the live view up, but I'll put that back in just a second. Just wanted to see what this video looks like on 2S full screen without a distraction until we get to the 3S battery, because the 2S battery really does look quite good. It's not where I'd like the performance to be, but then again, if you're trying to do cinema style stuff and try to be smooth with this quad, it's going to take some practice because it is fairly nimble for how small it is, but you can get some really awesome shots with this quad. Now I'm just going to land and switch over to a 3S battery for you. And now we're taking off with the 3S. You saw a little bit of jitter there on takeoff. There's this awesome train heading out of town here. And I'm just flying along and checking out some of those colors down there on those box cars. It looks really good on the Runcam Split 2 Mini. And my live view there, just a little bit of breakup there, so I'm going to turn around and come back. Whenever you start to see a little bit of breakup, you can always turn around and come back, and hopefully your video returns. Just a little bit more breakup there. There's a lot of metal poles around in this little playground right here. But this is on 3S. You're watching 3S right now, and the video looks decent. I'm not complaining about the way it looks like here. I don't see a lot of horizontal jitters in the video. It looks pretty solid, and I'm cruising along at about half throttle, almost the exact same speed as the train, which is kind of cool. And the traffic seems to be going the same speed as well. We're all sharing that same speed. I'm going to turn back over here to the right and get back on the field. And I'm not really hating the 3S battery. And I think where you're really going to see that the video gets bad is when we head up to 4S battery. And it would be great if we had 4S power on this quad, but you know, 3S and 2S, you can see there a little bit of jitter right there, and that's because of that high RPM with the 3S battery. You're getting much more RPM out of those props. I'm just kind of having fun with this battery and cruising around. There's a little more prop wash right there. You can see that kind of jitter, that stutter when I take a really hard turn. Just cruising along down here, and I noticed there's a lot of water down there. Definitely a place where I don't want to fail-safe below that hill line. I just want to get above that hill line and try to avoid a fail-safe into that water. But how cool is that? Split Mini 2 is really, really cool. If you don't have one of these yet, you got to get one. Put it on some type of quad. They are a 20x20 stack. You can also get it in a 30x30 stack, so you can put it on a 5-inch race quad as well and get some 1080p at 60 frames per second. Coming close to that light pole there. Just cruising over toward the sort of interesting little circle park over here with the tall trees, what used to be trees, over top of this little ring here. It's a really neat little park, really wide open and a lot of fun for little sub 250 gram quad. I would not fly a 5-inch race quad right here. This is too much of a public place for my 5-inch. And it smacked one of those winter ghost branches. So what do you guys think? 2S or 3S? How would you fly it? Can you accept the little bit of jello that we get and that stutter right there coming back around in the hard maneuvers? Is it okay that that happens? You could edit that out maybe. I think 2S is probably where it's at. You're not going to be doing a lot of aerobatics with this quad. You're not really going to be freestyling that much. So let me show you. Taking off with the 4S battery. Check out the difference there. This is a big difference. There's a lot of stutter all over the place, and I don't even know where to go with my left thumb to get the throttle at a point where there is no jello. I tried a really hard punch out right there, and it did seem to smooth out quite a bit, but reducing the throttle brings back that stutter. You can see the video just kind of, you know, it's just shaking a little bit. Yeah, I think that, I honestly think that the sweet spot for the K1 is definitely the 2S. You could do some 3S 650 to 850 size batteries That's what I'm going to recommend with it. And I definitely recommend trying these props because so far this has been one of the best flight tests that I've seen for the reviews out there on the K1 with the Rotor X 1940 props. Even though it's not the prop that came with it, the Emax Bonds, you could use those on something else like a Baby Hawk R. The Baby Hawk R Pro is what it's really intended for those props to be on. I think they just kind of threw those in there for you to get you excited. But they don't excite me for cinema recording. If we're going to record smooth video, you want to have a nice prop and a battery that's not going to give you a ton of power in the motors, because they did motor up a size higher than I think they should have. It's taken, man, I almost smacked it right there. That would have been our hardcore durability test. I didn't have much room to spare, but this quad is so small you can really find some awesome gaps with it. So I like the quad. I think it's a fun little quad to fly, and I think it's quite versatile because you can use all the way up to a 4S battery on it. And if you want less jello, you're definitely going to go for that 2S, say 650 or 850 battery. You're going to get the best video out of that. So let's go head back into the studio now. Let's put it on the bench and let's talk about it a little bit further, and I'll summarize it up for you. Here we go, back to the studio. All right, guys, welcome back from the flight test. What did you think about it on 2S, 3S, and 4S? 2S really seemed to have the least amount of vibrations. I do need some 2S batteries that are much larger. I'm going to need like a 2S, probably 650 or 850 to really get above that 3-minute mark. It was really cold out this morning, pretty damp, but my batteries were just tanking on me. Those 2S batteries, the 450s, couldn't hang out with those 1105 motors and the 20 amp ESC on board, just pulling all the power out of that battery really quickly. And even though I had a fresh charge, they were just dumping really fast. It might also be the additional voltage that's needed from the onboard DVR and the RunCam Split Mini camera on there, the Split Mini 2. Very interesting configuration that they have here. It is different than some of the other ones that I've seen. You've seen tons of sub 250 gram HD style cinema whoops, or cinema micro brushless as you would call them, on my channel. And this one is different mainly because this one is such a small frame, 95 millimeter unibody on the bottom, all one piece. And this one has had further changes to it, modifications to it, than the original ones that I saw actually a couple weeks ago. Albert Kim, he did a video with one and he was calling it the version 2. This one looks even different than the one he has. It has a newer updated lens on this camera. It also has a different looking body. It has some holes in the very top, and we have some changes as far as the overall layout of things here. I do see that they also put the Split Mini in the center right here between the 20 amp ESCs, and these are running on BL Heli 300 inside Betaflight. We have Betaflight 3.5 on here actually, so it's been updated recently to the latest Betaflight, close to the latest. And just above the split level here where our DVR is for our 1080p video, we have the Omnibus F4 SD flight controller right there, and on the other side is where your hookup for Betaflight is going to be right there. And just above that we have our VTX, and that VTX is running 5.8 video as always, but it's also switchable between 25 milliwatt and 100 milliwatt. So I believe it is defaulted to 100 because when I did turn it on, this got actually really hot on the bench, and it was interesting to me. I almost want to take a couple risers, maybe a couple little plastic nuts underneath these standoffs, and just raise this up a little bit because it does seem to be really close to the antenna, and if it is causing some interference there, that's one thing that I would like to avoid. I usually don't like to have my antenna too close to the carbon running that long along it, but I also tidied up some of the wires in the back. They had a little bit loose hanging out the back, and we are also using the Rotor X 1940 tri-props, and I'll just bring them in a little bit closer here so you can see those. Those are some nice looking low profile props, and if you're gonna do cinema on a micro, if you want to shoot 1080p video and you want it to look nice and smooth, you're going to need to use a less aggressive prop, something that's going to put less vibrations back to your camera up front. I also added dampeners in between the sidewalls and the RunCam Split 2. You can see just in there right there, I used a rubber grommet in between that sidewall and this camera to try to alleviate some of that vibration and jello that you're seeing in that video. And honestly, when you get above 3S, if you get even 75% on a 3S battery, you really do start to see that twitch, that jello again in the screen. So the sweet spot for this quad as far as power goes might be somewhere between maybe 2 and 3S. 4S just seemed to be impossible. Anywhere over a quarter throttle on a 4S battery, and I was just had so much vibration in the quad, it was barely flyable. So this is definitely great that they have 20 amp ESCs on here that are capable of flying at 4S, but it just has, it's too small of a frame with too much power. And that's what it all boils down to. They've been trying to get around this for years, and other companies have done some versions of quads like this, but they haven't attempted to put the split mini on there. So that's a big challenge for these companies. And SPC Maker, like I said before, they're one of those companies where they have all the parts in the world at their accessibility. They throw them together, and then they make something like this that might not have been tested outside of the reviewers. So what happens is sometimes they send things out for us. We get a hold of it first, we prototype it, we test it out for them, we send them feedback, and that's usually how the loop goes before it's really released to the public. But if you bought the previous version, I kind of feel sorry for you. The V1 was not anywhere near ready, and they're probably not going to give you your money back on that purchase. So that's kind of a huge bummer for customers in the US and around the world, honestly. But I like that they're trying to do this. This is a technical challenge to be able to pull this off. It honestly is. There's a lot going on here, even in this tiny little frame configuration that we have. It is a lot of vibration and a lot of trying going on here. So I think what they really tried to do in this version is just make the bottom plate a lot thicker to eliminate some of that extra vibration from that thinner original unibody frame that they used. Now they're bumped up to 3 mil. Looks like the top plate still looks like about 1.5 mil up top here. And the sidewalls, they might even be 1 mil. They're actually pretty small. No, I guess they're close to 1.5 to 2 mils actually on the side plates. If they're too thin, I think the original versions of this were very thin and causing even more vibration. So this could probably do better with some type of TPU side mount. And I think the TPU side mount would make it less rigid. And that's some of the issues that we have going on here with this particular quad, is that it's very rigid in here. And the harder things are mounted, sometimes the more vibrations in the video you're going to see. So I just wanted to give you a little close-up of these motors. They do have a bottom on them. They're not bottomless type motor, open design. They say 3BR on there. It looks like the 3BR brand, 1105, 6,000 kV. So it's not super high kV, but I think 1105 is just a little bit large for this particular frame setup with the split combo. I think they probably could have put 1104s on here, and they would have had much smoother video right out of the box for everybody. But what do I know, right? So I think that if you bought this quad and you have serious vibration problems, that's going to be my suggestion for people that bought this quad. Buy yourself some 1104s or even 1103s. Put them on this quad as long as they will accept a 3S battery, and you will probably get some good video out of that. Now, you can get this quad on the Banggood website and the GearBest website for around $150 plug and fly, and that means with no receiver on board. You can just add your own receiver, but it also comes optional with DSM2, DSM-X for Spectrum guys, Futaba, FlySky, and the FrSky. And I have actually an FrSky XM Plus on this one. Also, for people that are interested in doing long range, there are people experimenting now with these types of setups with cinema whoops, as we call them, and putting micro, actually nano, Crossfire Nano on there. Or you can put the micro long-range R9 module on there, receiver on there, and you can actually get way out there. But you're also going to have to fly a much larger battery if you want to go further distances and be able to make it back home. For me, this one's going to be a closer in proximity style cinema whoop, not really something long-range. If you want something long to medium range, you're probably going to want to get something like the iFlight IH3. So let's go ahead and do a weigh-in real quick. the quad by itself with the strap and the props and everything on there, looking at 88.8 grams. And we'll start out with the 2S450 because that's what we got the best result out of, and that's 117.8 grams. That's not too bad. And let's go to 3S450 now and see what we get here. 129.9 grams, 130 on the dot. And I'm going to suggest that you guys do something like a 650, maybe even trying an 850. Might be getting into the heavy area, but that's going to get you up to 160 grams. You're still way under 250 grams, which is kind of sweet. And then the 4S450 gets us around 147.6 grams. But your 88.8 grams for that total quad weight without the battery, that's actually pretty competitive weight. It looks pretty lightweight for what it is. But, you know, then again, you are under 100 millimeters there. And I was telling you guys earlier that props really do make the quad. Flight controllers can be PID tuned to fly just about any junky prop in the universe. But if you start out with a good prop, you're going to have to do less PID tuning in the future. So you guys that don't know how to PID tune yet and you have some vibes in your quad, no matter what quad it is, try to find a nice low pitch prop that's going to be less aggressive, because the crazier the prop is, the worse the airflow is. So look at the difference here with the pitch and how much aggression we have here with the stock prop, the Avon prop that comes along with it. It's just way wider chord in the center. Yeah, it is narrow toward the center, but you also have a really high pitch on this prop. So from all the way up here all the way to down there, it's a very high pitch prop. So from the top of the hub, even extending down past the bottom of the hub, it's very aggressive prop. And really this is great on something like the Baby Hawk, but when you start flying something like this, you really want to smooth it out a lot. And look how much less aggressive this prop is next to this very aggressive freestyle prop on the left there. So choose the right prop, you're going to get a better result. And let's go ahead and let's summarize what we have here with the new K1. I know I did have on the screen on the OSD, it said version 2, but this actually does look like the version 3 to me, and they might actually be shipping one of the later versions now from GearBest and Banggood. If you decide to buy one, try to communicate with them first. Put a message on the web page that you can ask questions there. Post a message asking which version they have in stock and which one is going to ship. So I think right now they're like 30% off. These quads used to be priced in around $199. And right now with the FR Sky receiver or any of the other receivers that I talked about before, whatever receiver you're looking for should land you around $170 for this bind and fly setup. Without the receiver, like I said before, around 150. But let's talk about some star ratings. And let's talk about it on all angles. First, fun factor is great. It's a 5 out of 5. I loved cruising around the park with this. I wasn't too worried about people being out there. It's generally very small quad, and it's actually pretty quiet. When people kind of see it buzz by, they're like, whoa, what was that? They have no idea what it was. But you definitely wouldn't want to hit somebody with this quad. It is quite bulky, and it could definitely hurt somebody. It's not necessarily as lightweight as something like a Tiny Whoop at 35 to 40 grams. So be a little careful flying this around your baseball fields and playgrounds and things like that. But you're going to have fun with it. I think the fun factor is very high. So let's talk about the next star rating. That would be durability factor. I think it's very durable, and you can make this even more durable if you want to, because it comes along with some prop guards, which I think is actually pretty cool. You're going to want to use the little bit longer hardware that you get in the box with this to put the prop guards on there. But the cool thing is that when you put the prop guards on there, like today I was flying without the prop guards because I want less vibrations, and that's what we're really looking for. But if you're looking to save your props, you can use these prop guards and get away with a lot of bumps and hits out there. So I think that the durability factor is going to be decent on this quad because it is very compact, lightweight, and they used a 3mm bottom plate here. So I think that's where we're going to get a lot of rigidity out of this frame. It should last you a long time. You're likely to be able to just replace all the electronics on this at some point, and this frame should live again if you really slam dunked it really hard and broke something in here. But as far as overall rating, I would say this one is around a 4.2 out of 5. In my opinion, I think it's getting there. They don't quite have a 5-star quad. I think there's like 4 or 5 reviews on Banggood right now, and I think they're all 5 stars, but I don't know how true those reviews are, if they're real reviews or not. But this is going to be my honest rating is 4.2, because I'm a little harder on things sometimes, and sometimes not. But this one still has a little bit of room for work. But I think they're getting there. So it's a really interesting direction, and there's a lot of companies that are trying to do this right now, and it is an extremely hard thing to pull off. So I gotta give it to the Spc Maker. Thumbs up for trying to make something new and exciting and bring it into the FPV community. I think it's really cool. So keep doing what you're doing, guys, and I think in another month or two you're going to have something also really exciting. New version of the K1s are always coming out, but this is the latest and greatest one right here. So pretty cool looking quad, and I hope they keep plugging away at this design. It is a really cool concept. But what did you guys think? Make your comments down below and let me know what you think about the K1, and also make that comment. If you're a Patreon, make the comment. You will get put into the drawing at the end of the month. Become a Patreon, and you can share your comments with the Drone Camps community behind the scenes and see what's coming out, new sneak peeks and prototypes and all kinds of things coming in for 2019. But thanks again for watching, you guys. I'm Justin Davis. Take care, be well, and I'll see you on the next one.